Good to go. Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you all join me with the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first I'd like to start by recessing our motion to recess a regular general meeting.
Make the motion.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let's start our budget hearing. And Dr. McDonald, you want to kick it off with
Dispense with the reading of the
we have
notice.
notice? Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Went through and read and was welcoming our general public. So request that we dispense with the reading of the annual meeting notice.
I'll make the motion.
The motion?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That's carried. That is also available on board docs on our website on the budget page, and may also be obtained from our district clerk. Now we'll do the budget presentation.
Okay.
Thank you, Meg.
You're welcome. So this is the budget presentation on the proposed 23-24 Walton Central School District budget. For the public hearing, this information should look very familiar as it has not changed from the last few meetings. This is the same information that was presented at the community budget forum a few weeks ago. Just a brief agenda, we'll look at the proposed budget for next year as well as the district's budget and tax levy history and review the tax cap calculation for next year. Some information on the governor's proposal that was provided previously and what's been included in the budget. We did get updates on state aid runs today based on the progress in adopting the state budget. There aren't really any significant changes from what we knew or adjusted for previously to what was released today. There's some information on the enrollment trend for the district and just a review of the expenditure categories, where the expenses are in the budget and changes from last year, as well as a look at fund balance, and then I'll open it up for any questions or comments at the end. So the proposed budget for next year is $24,233,793. Our projected revenues are about $1.5 million less than that at $22,785,223. And we're closing the gap between revenues and expenses by appropriating fund balance on $1,448,570. Included in the budget is a 2.92% tax levy increase, or $205,000 that the levy has been increased. We also included an assumption of a 5% increase on health insurance, and also that final cost reports for phase 2 of the capital project that is almost completed, that was mostly completed last summer, will be submitted to the state by December 31st, resulting in a building aid payment next year. This slide simply reviews the last several years of adopted budgets and a look at the percent and the dollars by which they've increased, as well as the tax levy over the last several years. The proposed budget for this year is a 5.98% increase over last year, which is the highest increase we've had in several years. And the tax levy increase again is 2.92. This slide reviews the calculation that goes into the tax cap. People often reference the tax cap as a 2% tax cap, but the 2% is just one of the factors. It's the levy growth factor that go into this. So a lot of times your calculation results in a levy increase that can be greater than 2%, and sometimes it's less. For us this year, it exceeded 3%, but we reduced it slightly to the 2.92% increase. This slide shows the impact of that increase on a property that is valued at $150,000. This year, the tax amount for that property would have been $1,698, and for next year, it would be $1,748, or an increase of about $50. I found it interesting, and I included a slide that shows the tax rate history for the last several years for the district. And we've been fortunate in recent years that our total taxable value has increased. You see, it used to be in the 530 to 560 range, and for this year, it was actually 20 million. So that has caused our tax rate to decrease because we've had more assessed value that the levy is spread over. So if you, I think on the next slide, if the assessed value of a particular property didn't change, and I believe this was based on $150,000 assessed value, the amount of taxes paid for next year as compared to what that property would have paid in 2021 is actually $175 less. So even though the levy is increasing, we're spreading it across more value, causing the rate to decrease. This slide shows the various sources of state aid that we get. The two major funding sources for our budget are real property taxes and state aid. It compares what was adopted this year versus what we anticipate we'll actually receive to the executive budget. The items highlighted in yellow for various reasons, we didn't feel that the numbers in the executive budget were accurate, so we made some adjustments as far as what we included in the actual proposed budget. And we were looking at about a 1.8% increase in budgeted state aid from this year's budget to what we're looking at for next year. This slide shows the enrollment trend. In 2015-16, the district had slightly over 1,000 students enrolled at 1,012, and last year we had, or this year we have 858. So we have seen a steady decline over the last several years. Many of the state aid formulas have enrollment as a factor, so that has caused some of our aid calculations to go down. This slide compares the various categories of our expenditures between personal services, which is salaries and wages for staff, equipment purchases, contractual, which is any service that we buy, whether it's trying to think of some good examples, whether it's a consultant of some sort to provide a service, or our energy and utilities are in that category as well. 0.49 is BOCES, all the various services we get from our DCML BOCES and some other BOCES. 0.8 is benefits, so that's all of our benefits for our employees. It includes social security taxes, unemployment costs, workers' compensation, health, dental, and vision insurance, retirement costs, all those things. And then the last line for debt service and capital, that's the amount we pay on our outstanding bonds, as well as the $100,000 for the annual capital outlay project. And this just shows the increases in those various categories. I've highlighted on here that while we do see that debt service is going up, which we expect because we've taken out borrowing for the recent capital projects, our building aid is increasing by a corresponding amount. So we've had a few recent capital projects where we've been able to do them without an increase in the tax levy as a result of them, and that's because we're funding the additional cost through the state aid we're getting back on the projects. Special education has had a significant budget impact for next year. We have seen increased needs, which has resulted in increased special education classrooms, increases in aid needs, as well as some increases in placements outside of the district to meet those special education needs. So if you look at the overall budget that is increasing almost 1.4 million, about 800,000 of that is associated with special education needs. This slide reviews our fund balance. At the beginning of this year, it was at about 2.4 million, and we appropriated 580,000 of that to help fund this year's budget. We're anticipating we won't have to use that. In fact, we're anticipating that we might have about a $300,000 surplus to add to it at the end of this year. Much of that is a result of still having stimulus funds that are helping us cover some of our current costs. We are working on and starting to work on the Townsend Floor project, and in order to do all the work that we wanted to accomplish as part of that project, we are putting some additional fund funding towards that project to complete those things, which, the items that we wanted to be sure we could accomplish as part of that project involved redoing the bathrooms while we're working on the second floor, as well as some of the HVAC work in that area as well. And then the 1.4 million that we're appropriating to help fund next year's budget will leave us with a projected fund balance at the end of next year of about 1.5 million. The school budget vote takes place on Tuesday the 16th from noon to 9 at the bus garage, and the items that the public is being asked to vote on are the adoption of the proposed budget, a 5-year bus lease of 3 65-passenger buses. This lease, we will be turning in 5 buses that we've had for 5 years, and we will be getting, 3 buses that we've had for 5 years, and we will be getting 3 new ones. And also the library budget is an item that's placed on the ballot as well for residents to vote on. There are 2 seats on the Board of Education that will be being voted on, a 3-year term currently held by Braden Dutcher and a 3-year term currently held by Paul Wood. There are 2 petitions that have been filed to fill these slots, Kevin Verweer and Braden Dutcher. Does anybody have any questions?
I just have the one of the assessed value. It's interesting if you look at the 2021 year compared to now and how you're paying. You're saying if you were assessed at the same value, you're actually paying 175 less in taxes with our budget going forward. So that's important to our community to realize that the assessed value has increased in the total district, and that now you're 175 less compared to the 2021 budget. So.
Obviously, those changes in assessed values impact particular properties differently. We have some new, properties that were built, I'm sure, that contribute to that, as well as possibly some people's assessments being increased. So the effect on a particular property is, specific to that property, but overall, that's the impact.
To me, it shows growth of business, probably taxable businesses in the area. So that's an excellent indicator.
I mean, that's a huge increase to go from 560 to 620.
Yep.
Significant.
When was
go up even more this year.
When was the tax reevaluation? Was that in the same time frame, the 2021?
I think
No.
it was before.
No,
Before
it
that?
was 17, 18.
17, 18?
Yep.
So it wasn't like it was just a matter of catching up with that. This is actual
This is
projected
actual
growth.
growth, yep.
Good.
Thank you.
So, thanks, Meg. Any public comment? No? We still receive public comment through BOE at Walton, CSD.
Yes.
So any questions or comments already received on the budget? Any additional questions, please direct them to Corey, our district clerk, or by emailing to boe@waltoncsd.org.
Just clicked a button, does that mean that sound?
Open up though.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to return to a regular meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll return to general session. And under A, we have the approval of the April 11th minutes. Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to accept them as submitted.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next, we have approval of the April 18th minutes.
I'll make the motion.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. And finally, minutes from the April 24th.
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Any additional public comment on general meeting? None. Okay, we're up to discussion items. So last night our facilities committee met. We were here for just over an hour.
I was gonna
Go ahead, Ron.
rely on Kevin for this because
Okay.
of how much detail that we had discussing the parking lot and the transitions that will happen with that, but I'll be honest with you, I left my notebook at home, so.
I can
by
help out
memory.
for sure.
So there's a couple of things in the parking lot that will be addressed, and there's still meetings that are occurring to work that out. We will be sealing the end of the parking lot here where we left that open. That will be sealed here in the near future. if I remember right. The, what we refer to as the pond down here, that is being addressed as well. We believe that that may be the main pipe that comes up will be coming up at least 3 inches,
Great.
if I remember that correctly. So hopefully that'll take care of that water and that won't be a future problem. And we might as well do additional boring sites down there just to make sure that the soil is able to withhold, or actually perk the water properly. Let's see, the
Loading ramp.
loading ramp,
Yep.
yep. That's being looked into. The surface is a little bit different, and I guess if you look at that and then look at the parking lot out here, it'll have a different texture to it. But there's a question as whether it is the compression of the soil underneath. So we discussed possibly having some testing done on that further to see if that's where the problem lies, and if that's it, then we can address that, as well as a low spot out in the parking lot, out in the student parking area. Townsend School, trying to think what there was some preliminary work over there. And then the real destruction, if you will, of the upstairs, that will start, I don't remember the date, what is it?
We will be.
Right after school.
Yeah, the last day, right after everybody leaves, on that Friday, they will be doing moves, with moving crew coming in, and then we'll be turning it over to contractors, and then we'll go from there. So they will be taking out
Yep.
everything, in those 4, or it's half of the 35 wing each summer. So it'll be the first half this year, which is over top of the kitchen and half the cafeteria, and then we'll go from there.
The generator and the electrical panels, with the generator, that is looking for a delivery the end of August,
Yep.
beginning of August. So then we'll see some movement on that. It wasn't a long meeting last night, but it was a lot of detail was covered.
Townsend, just with Townsend, they have a lot of the pre-construction submittals that have to go through
That's right.
floor types, things like that. They've been working back and forth with staff to get colors right, the type of materials they're gonna be using. But Townsend School, to take half of that 35 wing completely apart and rebuild, that's a logistical, I don't wanna say nightmare, but it's a logistical exercise. And they went through a lot of detail of that with us, and it's gonna be tight and things have to go right. So they're starting now to plan that as best they can and get everything laid out, time frame wise. So I'm comfortable that they're in a good spot with it. They've talked it through many times. They got to start over 2 weekends ago. They got to start at some of the work they wanted to do. But once students are out of that section, it's got to go fast. So it's going to be interesting. The only thing with the generator, they had some pipe work that they're still bidding out.
Correct.
That they're going to follow up with this week for connections of natural gas to the generator itself.
And then we were presented with a 5-year plan, and that actually is in the early phases of it. We're actually ahead of the date lines right now, so that is something that we will be reviewing. The safety issues, he kind of put it down through priorities, priority 1, priority 2, or priority 3, and we are just going to review that and make sure that those categories are right, and then and offer any opinions, if we see something that we think that should be in moved from category 3 to category 1.
That's
for
in the
priority
library, right?
one.
It's going to be.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So you can all review that at the same time we are from a facility standpoint. If you see anything, let us know. It's a total look at the district, all buildings, and what our consultants have their opinion of priorities 1 through 3. But some of the new green energy stuff is stuck in priority 3 because they don't have real costs for it yet, because we're doing analysis on like electrification of buses, things like that. Some of those things are unknown yet. Heat pumps and solar, any of those kind of options. So they don't have numbers worked out for those just yet. So they are parked into a category 3 until a bigger assessment is done
Right.
of what the values are. But these projects are looking to be scheduled out another 5 years or so,
Right.
at least. So it's a list that's going to be working towards our next set of capital projects once we get everything else buttoned up, and probably take a break for a couple of years and then start looking at some of these ones.
And the blinds, we're waiting on bids on them?
They measured,
They came in.
they came in and measured.
Oh, okay, so they came in and measured. So we will have blinds on the new windows, if you've noticed that. And then also the orange inserts above the windows, looking from the outside. They look very nice. We really would like to get the green ones taken care of in the near future. But at least we've got the majority of the building in the front here done, so. And you can really see the difference out there, so we'll work on that, but. I think that was, in a nutshell, most of it.
We're probably going to ramp up our facilities committee meetings to maybe once a month for a little while to kind of stay on top of what's going on, wrapping up our last capital projects, as well as with Townsend School, we're just going to meet a little bit more regular. And I think we discussed just doing monthly to just stay abreast. I imagine we're still going to share all details the way you have been with the
Absolutely.
full board.
Every
for project
week when it
updates.
comes in, if there's anything to it, some weeks they've submitted paperwork, but if I'm not gonna bore you with it in an email, but anything that's got any substance to it, I'll send it to the full board.
Yep. It's been helpful. Anything else facilities? So it was an hour-long meeting, but we covered a lot of ground, so.
Right.
Okay, upcoming policy committee meeting needs to be rescheduled. Possible dates, May 25th, June 8th, June 12th. I don't know off the top of my head right now. But
I can email those out again to the committee and,
I can't do the 8th or the 12th.
okay, so maybe the 25th, or I think you and I
Everyone's just
talked.
quickly.
And then there was one.
May 25?
All right, so we'll shoot for May 25th at 5:30.
I think that's good for me. Kevin, but. Okay, reminder, the curriculum committee will meet on Tuesday, May 30th at 5. And we wanted to talk about scheduling a special meeting to accept the results of the vote to facilitate obtaining bids for the capital outlay project as requested by IBI and Dan Whalen. Potential Thursday, May 18th, as early as 4.
Just what I put out there.
We will definitely need a quorum, but
We
this
need a
is,
quorum.
if the budget passes, we will need to jump as fast as we can to get the capital outlay project moving forward rather than putting it
Right.
off. So we would have to have another meeting, an extra meeting, and that would be, if we can, May 18th would be at 4 o'clock, if that works.
And that will be the only agenda item on there, is just the acceptance of the budget vote. And then we can take the document, it has to be submitted to state ed before they can move forward with the bid process.
And we just need quorum, and we could adjust that if we can't get quorum for 4 o'clock.
I can make 4.
I can make 4 o'clock.
Okay.
3.
I should be there fine.
Okay, so we'll try for that then. Thank you.
And Townsend Elementary, as everyone knows, the school concert is that same night as 6. Any other discussion items? Hearing none, we'll go to correspondence. Can we go to grants update report?
Meg, do you want to get on the grants update?
Sure, I don't have it in front of me, but I can just
Okay.
review. We have received tremendous amount of grants from the O'Connor Foundation over the last year and a half, and I just thought it would be nice to update the board as far as the different grants that have been awarded. I think most of all of those, I was involved in UPK, the UPK furniture one to a certain extent, but I just really commend the staff that have taken the initiative to prepare the applications. I've worked with several of them, provided them a sample of the previous one that was successful, and I know some of them have collaborated together to, someone who was successful in getting one help someone else who wanted to apply. I think we have one, if not two, still pending, and they've just been very generous. It's allowed us to do some things that folks wanted to do, but we didn't really have the funding sitting there. And I believe it may have been Chrissy Evans, who has, it was definitely a teacher at Townsend who has a relative that worked in another school district that kind of made her aware of this, and it really kind of snowballed, and it was a great combination of staff taking some initiative, working with the business office, and it's just been nice to see these things get done.
Very nice.
And the O'Connor Foundation alone was over 20,000 in grants they proposed or received, and then the 2022-2023 UPK grant was increased from 105,000 to 298,000. So a lot of good work by staff to obtain outside funding. That's great.
Mhm.
And something highlighted in there is the trip to Animal Adventure and the purchase of a PE program targeted at the group, which included 24 bikes, helmets, and curriculum.
And there are some, I think I failed to include on there are some grants that the FFA program has applied for as well that we've gotten over the last several years that are, sometimes 500, sometimes as much as $1,400. So it's great I think it can be overwhelming. And the fact that we had someone that were successful, that were able to share that information with other teachers or staff members who applied. I think the middle school was a great example because we had one person take initiative there, and they ended up collaborating with other people, and we put together a bigger application, and it was nice to see that.
Okay.
New York State accountability.
Yeah, so we have the link. There's a link to the report card, which is the New York State Public Data site that's open to anybody to view. We're providing the link per regulation to make sure that it is out there publicly, and that it's also out there to the board. What I did want to review with you is there was a change coming out of the pandemic to the accountability status. If you recall, it used to be good standing. So when we got the accountability every year, we would know if we were in good standing, we weren't flagged in any categories. They have now changed that from good standing to local support and improvement, formerly good standing, and then a number of other categories. The calculation for this it's incredible, the way they go to figure out where everybody stands. And essentially what they do is they have a numerator and a denominator. The numerator is 2s, 3s, and 4s in science, math, and ELA. And then the denominator is either the number of students who took the test or the number of students enrolled, whichever one is greater. And then they get times 100, they get that number, and then they put all of the schools in the state on a chart, and then that gives you your weighted average, and it gives you your lineup where you fit, and then they determine from there percentages and where you are in your range 1 through 4. And that's just for the overall. Then each category is different. And if your enrollment's different subgroups, then there's another role with that. Out of a 45-page document, the calculations are 25 pages worth. So we're going to talk about a little bit more at the curriculum meeting, go a little bit more in depth, and I'll supply that whole document if anybody who's really excited about reading. I mean, formulas excite me. I'm a math guy, but I'm not going to do that to you this evening. And it may change next year. They're continually looking at it and analyzing it. But for this year, we're in good standing, or I should say we're local support and improvement, LSI. We do have one category that is LSI PTS D, which is local support and improvement, potential target district, and that's in the subcategory of economically disadvantaged. So, and again, they do different calculations depending on subgroups. So more to come on that. Like I said, the curriculum committee will get into a little bit more, not too much, but not 25 pages worth of calculations. I won't do that to you. But I do feel that the board should be informed and have that documentation available to you. Okay.
And that report card is on the SED website
Public
for the
data,
public.
and there will be a link on our website as well.
So what they did is they made it very difficult for the general public to try to even understand that.
Yeah, they don't, all they do is put status. It's literally just one accountability status and what it is, and that's all it is. So, and then the spreadsheet that I've given you, that goes deeper into the different schools, and you can see, you know, I mean, the spreadsheet's well.
Yeah.
And then behind that is all the calculations.
Maybe after the curriculum committee, we just have a report out from the committee itself to the full board, digest it and go through that.
Right.
But
And
really, everything's in the same category except for one, and that's the
Yep.
economic disadvantage.
Yep, and it's different depending on 3-8 versus high school. High schools has some different categories, such as graduation and various things of that nature as well. So we'll touch on each of the different ones, and then we'll put that document, the understanding, the accountability, the 45-page document in the drive, in the library. Okay, so if anybody needs, you know, help going to sleep sometime, you can dive in. Except maybe Paul. Paul might like that. He's a data guy. No?
Have to be really tired, Mike.
That's a big spreadsheet.
Looking forward to going through with it.
Okay, any other correspondence? I don't see anything.
Nope.
New agenda item?
No changes or additions.
No changes. Okay, so we're up to the consent agenda. Declaring surplus. Again, it looks like they're still cleaning out downstairs and other things. There's a French horn, saxophone, and Yamaha flugelhorn with case. Approve renewal of occupational therapist coverage agreement. Personnel resignations and retirements, unpaid leave of absence requests, personnel appointments, and athletic recommendations. Is there any discussion on any of those topics under consent?
I'll make a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye to carry the consent agenda.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Under new business, first is accepting donations. $1,000 from Larry Regas family to the Larry Says Scholarship.
Make that motion to accept that. Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Approve the corrective action plan. Any discussion on that?
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. And that was just the audit recommendation of performing annual complete physical inventories and compare results by inventory records. It's the only addition. Personnel appointments. We have John Nolan, Angela McLennan, Crystal Stanton, and Lori Courtney.
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those appointments are carried. And we are up to supervisor's remarks.
We've got transportation with Tracy. You can highlight there, they got through their last emergency drill. We do multiple a year where the kids have to exit the buses and they go through and they get educated on emergency drills. That was completed. Rick, you're here, so I'm not gonna speak for you. Anything you wanna highlight on yours?
No, just what you touched base with the fifth grade wing, it's gonna be a very tricky initial couple weeks because of that network closet being installed in a ceiling a decade ago. So there's actually 80 to 100 cables that are on the second floor, fifth grade wing, that come about 50 feet over to one of the entranceways, 15 feet down on the first floor, and it feeds the entire cafeteria wing, and then the far small gym wing, which, I wasn't here back then, so I'm not sure why it was done that way.
Don't look at me, I took over after they put it in place.
It's a logistical nightmare for us to try to figure out, and we have to remove that so that they can begin their work. So we think we figured out a way so we don't have to run 100 different cables all the way back to our main closet. We'll see if that works in a couple months. We're confident, but it's not gonna be fun. Or it will be, or the other.
Well, thank goodness I only took on half at a time, right, for
That's
summer,
right.
because
Mhm.
that would have been too much for sure.
Absolutely. Then on my end, two things. One, even if facilities, we didn't, because not really a construction project, but just to give an update, we are progressing on the digital signage that we determined to be at the bus garage. We are moving forward with the details on that. I think we just got our final bid on the electrical work, so, and the order's been placed. So the hope is, the intent is that that's going to be done and completed. And I'm looking at Meg, if I say anything other than June 30th, she's not gonna be happy. So the goal is by June 30th, it's done so that the funding has to be paid for out of that federal account by then. So let's move forward. We'll see what happens. Pole banners have been ordered as well, that we talked about. We did every other pole up through here. We've determined several locations at Townsend to affix to the side of the buildings, because we want poles over there. And we've, as well as the bus garage. So we've got those on the way. I think it's 37 total, or 34 total. So it'll be a nice add to some Walton pride.
Nice.
So they're on their way and ordered. And then so I was actually two. So the third thing, Warrior mascot, just to confirm, because there's a lot of talk out there every time there's something that comes out regarding the indigenous people linkage of mascots throughout the state. We are not one of them. The history of the district, and looking at anybody who has a warrior name or any name that could potentially be linked to an indigenous, you have to do a history search. And if the visual mascot or the name is not in the history of the district tied to an indigenous person, you're good, or group. So we have confirmed it. I'm working with Shenango Valley. We actually got confirmation directly from that committee that if that's the case, we're fine. So we are fine. That's just another confirmation. I know I told Mel, I think it was you, one of you folks contacted me months ago, and I said, we're good.
Oh,
But
well,
now I
good
feel
to know.
100% we're good at this
Good.
time. So I just wanted to make sure to publicly state that.
It's been in the news and the press as well. There's some school mascots, the Native American population are supporting and are very prideful that their names stay the same. So that's a, the other side of it too, is that you can have someone support you as well. But we're not in that linkage.
And hopefully this will be the end of it. I know it's a committee, it's a standing committee, so they're gonna continue to explore this area. So hopefully this is the end of it for the future, and we move on. So, that's all I have.
Updates, the IRT again. I don't know if we just want to touch base on that.
Yeah, IRT,
Because we have a change in manufacturing glass availability, right?
Correct. So two things as an update for the IRT. I have a document that I'm going to share in a Friday letter from the planning. I had to make some adjustments to it, but there were two things that we didn't know what were going to happen. One was veterinary services to include neutering and operations, spade and neutering. They have a relationship form with SUNY Delhi, So they are going to do those operations. They're here, they're going to do wellness checks and in-shop treatments. The glasses, initially, they had determined that they could not get the machinery or the labor to make the actual glasses here. They formed a relationship with the Navy, so now it's Army, Air Force, and Navy.
Yep.
And they will have the equipment here, they will be set up in the shop room, and they will be making the glasses on site, one pair per person on site. So, pretty cool, pretty exciting. So, we're gonna be, I believe the planning group's gonna be communicating, working with Lions Club, do a push for donation of glasses. So if anybody has any glasses laying around, I got like 12 pair that I've got saved up. So I'm gonna.
There's a
bring it
box
in.
of breakstones. We've had a box there for a couple of months, so.
I think we really, really wanted that addition right up front, and they couldn't provide it in the initial to do the actual on-site manufacturing, now they can. And that's just a great savings to your community, and rather than just writing a prescription, now you can walk out with a set of glasses, so I think that's the amount of work and the amount of visits that are gonna be conducted through that process is really amazing. And that the fact that it's all free, and we get to see the amount of legwork that goes in behind this. Everything from our county planning department with Shelley Johnson leading to the East Regional planning boards, to everybody behind the scenes that's making this go. It's such a benefit to the community. I can't remember what the numbers were in the last one they did, but it was
in the millions.
Yeah, it was in the millions.
1 to 2 million, I think.
Of procedures, everything from sports checks to glasses to dental procedures, and it does not matter income status any way, shape, or form. Everyone's served. So very important. I'm glad we have the parking lots done and we're able to facilitate this
Right.
For them, because it's great to be here and show our community support in that way here.
So after they get the marketing material out publicly, we did add detail on this into the budget newsletter.
Okay.
That will be going out tomorrow. So all of our residents will get that direct information from us, so they'll have a little bit of a leg up on the marketing piece, but the marketing will be coming out, and then thought is here, we'll do a push, we'll put some boxes in the buildings, and we'll do a push out for glasses ourselves, and see if we can't do a collection here, and then anything that they don't use there, we'll give the Lions Club to continue their mission with their eyeglasses as they move forward. So we'll do that as part of our community service as well.
Thanks.
Okay.
Very good at that for our community.
Oh, I hope so. I hope people take advantage of it, and hopefully we get hundreds or thousands of people through here and take advantage of this opportunity. It's a terrific opportunity. So we'll have approximately 100 soldiers here, is what they're saying now. So this room will be the main place about the headquarters of operations. We're gonna have, New Hope is generously stepped up and is allowing that to be a community headquarters for volunteers. They have a need of, I think, hundreds of volunteers are saying, right? So if anybody's interested in volunteering to help assist patients and work with the operation, that detail will be coming out soon as well, and their marketing and their publicity, so.
There are many functions after procedures are done for the day that the communities have hosted in different areas. I'll let them broadcast them all, but everything from dinners for the soldiers to group meetings to even as little as we're going to ask our AAU basketball team to set up a mini tournament on the 19th of July to be able to give them some entertainment on the basketball courts. So things like that are happening, and it'd be nice to push all that out, because I'm very proud to say, once again, we're in Walton, and this is a huge benefit to the county and the surrounding area.
The leadership is excited. They might be handpicking some ringers for basketball. I don't know.
I think we've got a good crew, I think.
It's gonna be
Wait
interesting.
till they see Landon standing, they're like, what? You've got a 6'9" kid? Yeah, we do.
That's all I got.
Okay. So we do have a need for an executive session tonight. We have to go in, once again, for the purpose of discussing student matters, and we're gonna ask that the Director of Pupil Personnel join us in the executive session. I do not believe that there's gonna be any action taken afterwards.
No, sir.
We'll ask for more.
If that's the case, then I'll make a motion to go into exec and adjourn after.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hungerford.